Many people ask, why did it take only 12 days to defeat Iran, only 70 days to defeat Hezbollah, and more than almost 2 years to defeat Hamas?
Well, I've been following his work for a very long time. Amit Segal is one of the greatest journalists in Israel, one of the most well-connected, and certainly produces incredible work. And I'm not sucking up to you because I'm about to speak to you. I genuinely mean it. Thank you so much for your time and for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Erin.
Tell me from your perspective, since October 7, how you think Israel has gone. If you were going to give this country a grade on what it has faced and how it has countered that, what would you give Israel as a nation?
Well, Israel failed the test on October 7th, of course, and as a result, it was very weak in the days after. So weak that it needed President Biden's famous don't, following the days in order not to be attacked by Hezbollah and Iran. And the reason was that Israel failed to understand that not only Iran had planned the nuclear facilities and the nuclear program, but what we call the ring fire across Israel, the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, the 3H. But from then on, it was like the US in World War II. There was our Pearl Harbor, and then came the offensive in not only 2 front lines, but actually 6. And Israel defeated Hezbollah in Lebanon, something that no one expected to happen. Then it led to the fall of Syria, thus, give or take, killing the Iranian axis. And then came the 12-day attack on Iran, which actually eliminated Iran's nuclear program. So I would say a very high grade, and I think all the neighbors see. Erin, Australia is very big, but the Middle East is not that big. So everyone literally saw the Israeli attack. You could see the missiles from the Emirates, from Jordan, Iraq. I think it was a tour de force.
Tell me about Gaza, and you've mentioned some incredible achievements, and you would classify them as wins. Any expert in any field would classify them as wins. The criticism with Gaza, why is it taking so long? I think I understand why. A lot of critics don't. What would your response be to why is this war continuing? And is it because Netanyahu is driven by self-interest as opposed and political survival, as opposed to the best interest of his people and his nation? Because that is what is constantly leveled at him and at Israel.
So first of all, those political interests are basically the will of many people in Israel to defeat Hamas once and for all, so October 7th doesn't happen again. Gaza is half a mile from the Israeli kibbutz of Be'eri, from the Israeli city of Sderot, from dozens of thousands of Israelis. So we don't have an ocean that separates us from our enemies. So this is one thing. Second, many people ask, why did it take only 12 days to defeat Iran, only 70 days to defeat Hezbollah, and more than almost 2 years to defeat Hamas? And keep counting. And I'll give you an example. You know, when you take a flight, you actually enter the flight from London to Tel Aviv, you get a meal, a drink, and you go to sleep, and you wake up 30 minutes before you land. But then, waiting for the luggage, waiting for the passport control, taking a taxi home, then you have a traffic jam. It usually takes more time than the flight itself, although the distance is way smaller. I think this is the case. It's way easier, I know it's an absurd, but it's way easier to attack a country like Iran with its army facilities detached from the population centers than bunkers, tunnels, etc., under hospitals, under kindergartens, etc., and especially when the luggage hasn't arrived. The luggage is the hostages. And hadn't there been hostages in Gaza, it would have ended, I think, a year ago.
Yeah. And look, I see that so very clearly. I don't think it's complex at all on any level. Why do so many people in the West, and you made the point, it's a matter of miles, less than, from the doorstep of Israel. People who have countries surrounded by many, many vast amounts of water and ocean, it's easy for them to not understand the threat, isn't it?
Exactly. This is one thing. And the second is that people confuse in the West suffrage from they mix suffrage and being right. I mean, the more you suffer, the more justice you have on your side. That's why Israel got so many support following
Key
October.
point.
Yes, that's why Israel
Yeah.
got so many support after October 7th. Do you remember the Eiffel Tower lit with blue and white colors, the Empire
Yeah.
State Building, Brandenburg Gate? I was quite suspicious regarding this support because this emanates
It
from the
didn't
fact that
last long, Amit, did it? It did not last long.
because luckily October 7th is not returned. Now here's the thing. For Israelis, suffrage and victims, civilian victims, are a bug. For Hamas, it's a feature. It's a feature for Hamas to exploit its population. There are no shelters in Gaza. No one has ever bothered to build shelters for the population, only for the chief commanders of Hamas. This is one thing.
Why would
Second,
they? It's so
exactly.
powerful for them, for their people to die. It helps them.
It helps them. But Hamas actually built its strategy on three civilian populations: the Israeli population to be killed and intimidated, the international community, the Gazan community, the Gazan population to be killed and serve as a weapon, and the international community and the Western population to be shocked by the Israeli crudeness, thus stopping the war. This is, give or take, the strategy of Hamas. And I have to say, it's so crazy, in my opinion, that all those bands, the Western bands and Western artists, support Gaza and Hamas. You know, that in the houses of the victims from the kibbutzim, you could have seen, for instance, discs of Rod Stewart, for instance, of many other artists. Now, in Gaza, you are not allowed to have such
Yeah.
songs. This culture serves only as one thing, to be the useful idiot of Gaza and Hamas.
See, you make the point very, very well in that Gaza is a completely different battlefield from Iran or from, sending in bombs where you don't need soldiers on the ground, etc., etc. I would argue that so many of those that are criticizing Israel for how long this war is taking are the greatest enablers of this duration of anyone else in terms of world leaders who have not held Hamas to account, but have held Israel to account for being victims of a heinous terrorist attack and for living next door to terrorists. That enablement, that appeasement of terrorists has been the greatest contributor to why this war has gone on. If the world on October 8 had said, we do not accept this, we do not condone it, the war could have been over in a month.
And I couldn't agree more, and I would like to add something. President Biden demanded Israel to actually provide Gaza with humanitarian aid, and he promised on October 11th that if he knows that it goes to the pockets or to the hands of Hamas, he would stop it. Well, he failed to keep his promise.
Yeah.
This is one thing. And second, don't look at it as a humanitarian aid. This is money that goes to Hamas. Why? Because Hamas steals 80% of the humanitarian aid, then selling it to the population, and then taxing 50% on the revenues of the merchants. So Hamas actually became rich. So on one hand, we kill terrorists of Hamas, and on the other hand, we meet in the battlefield, new terrorists that are paid by Hamas. Now, this is an absurd, because under the coverage or the disguise of morality, it just prolonged the suffering of Gaza.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Could not agree with you more. I want to ask you about Netanyahu, and I know we don't have much time. Can you explain in the simplest of terms, pretend that myself, and this might be easier for people who hate me, pretend I'm an idiot. Explain to me the domestic politics of Israel when it comes to Netanyahu. I've been to Israel, I think, 5 or 6 times since December, and people either love him or they hate him. And a lot of people internationally don't understand because they see this very stoic leader. The people who believe in your right to exist, the decent people, see someone who's incredibly articulate, seems to be doing a wonderful job. But what is so divisive about him, and what is it domestically that divides people in Israel?
Well, there is an obsession to Netanyahu from both sides. It's like Trump, but multiplied, I think, 5 times more. Yeah. So just imagine how severe it is. Yes, because I'll give you a reason. Because first of all, Trump is here only from 2016, and Netanyahu is here from 1996, from the last millennium. Second, because for Trump, there is we know when he ends his term. It's on
Yeah.
2029, and although it's quite far from now, if you hate Trump, you know that one day he's not going to be here, and it's only three
There's an
years and a
end
half
point.
away. When it comes to Bibi and to Israel's parliamentary system, there is no term limit. So technically, he can serve till 200. His father lived to the age of 102. So technically, he has 27 more years. So this is one thing. Second, Netanyahu was perceived as Mr. Security. This was the reason why, following October 7th, he dropped in the polls. He lost the ground dramatically in the polls. Now, somehow he recovered it following the successful attack in Iran, but not enough. Bec-
Pages and Iran, yeah.
yeah, now here's the thing. I don't think personally that Netanyahu can win the next election with majority, with an outright majority for his bloc. But in Israel, in order to keep the prime minister's office, you don't have to win, you just have not to lose. Because there are 10, 12 Knesset members, Arab Knesset members, who do not take part in coalitions. So if you get enough for a bloc that prevents the other from forming a coalition, you can stay in
Yeah.
power, either to go to yet another round of election or join forces with the other camp. So it's too early to tell whether Netanyahu can survive, but his chances are a bit better than it looked like 2 years ago.
What about this court case that's been going on, and Donald Trump, the US president, weighed in very heavily on X? I've seen other commentators from Israel come in and say that the US should be applying sanctions. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think the US would want to get involved in what they consider domestic politics. But do you believe this is a real deep state abuse of the system?
Well, first of all, I'm opposing. I'm against having sanctions on Israelis. I was against it when it was by the Biden administration against right-wing activists, and I'm fully
Mm.
against it when it's the Trump administration sanctions against center-left activists. So this is one thing, because we have to solve our problems by ourselves. As we speak, as for the deep state things, I do think that there was a phishing towards Netanyahu when it comes to the indictments. I don't think the indictments are very robust, to say the least. We saw it in court, but here is the problem. In Israel, there is a saying that says the process is the punishment. It doesn't really matter
Mm.
whether Netanyahu would be
The
convicted
outcome.
or not,
Mm.
because if it happens in 2030, I'll give you an example. My son was born on the day the first investigation against Netanyahu began in 2015. He is now a fifth
Yeah.
grader. He's now a fifth grader,
Yeah.
and he'll get to high school before this trial is out. So I think it's crazy for a country that its a prime minister has to be in court for 12 hours a week and to prepare for another 12 hours when he has those minor things of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, normalization, immigration. This trial should be stopped, and better the earlier the better.
Last question for you, Amit. What is your prediction? When does Gaza end? Does Israel achieve its objective? And I can't see how it can be satisfied with any other outcome apart from the complete eradication of Hamas, an organization that has promised to carry out October 7 again and again and again. How does it end? When does it end?
It depends on two questions. Whether does Trump still support the immigration, and
Mm.
second, does Trump still support the annexation of Gaza to the US? If one of the questions, the answers is positive, it means that there is something to do with 2 million Gazans. You can let them emigrate. You can actually make Gaza great again. If it's not the case, at some point Israel would have to sign a deal that would end the war and fight another day. But I think that was in the center of the Netanyahu-Trump summit in the White House last week. But to be honest, I don't think anyone knows what really happened there. So I guess in a few days or weeks, we will know, according to the results on the ground, what really was agreed between the two leaders.
I promised last question. This is, I very much promise you very quickly. What is the sentiment on the ground in Israel? And I know that's a very hard question to answer, but what is the level of commitment to ending Hamas versus the level of exhaustion with war, with hostages, with just prolonged pain in your country?
I don't think it's an exhaustion. I think on the other side is the desire to see the hostages back home. So people want to be both healthy, rich, young, and beautiful, right? People want to end the war, finish Hamas, bringing back all the hostages, and do it as soon as possible. Problem is, it doesn't really work as we want, as we wish. So I guess what would happen is that would bring 50% of the hostages and then keep on fighting. And I think people want Hamas to be destroyed, but they want the hostages back first.
Beautiful. Amit Segal, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I just want to add that if I guess your audience is really interested in Israel, so they are more than invited to subscribe on my newsletter. It's Noon in Israel in English daily. It was supposed to be in early morning in the US, but in Australia, you can get it at the end of the working day.
Fantastic. And tell us as well, is that the same because I now subscribe to your wonderful channel. Is it on Telegram?
It's on Telegram. This is Amit Seg in one word, but you get the newsletter.
So you can search on Telegram as well, and the newsletter.
Yes.
We'll make sure we put a graphic up.
Listen, Erin, if you're a junkie, you subscribe to the Telegram, then you get updates every 2 minutes. If you're,
it's phenomenal.
If you're just addict, so the newsletter would suffice.
Different levels. You are amazing. Thank you so much. We'll make sure we put the links in for people to subscribe. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bye, Erin. Bye.